workshops in various countries around. How all the ancient legendary stories, myths, Bibles, fairy tales, etc. all have one simple common origin. And all these wonderful ancient classics, persona are always the same under different names. Now, this is where we're getting to, guys. We're actually getting to a point where we're really starting to take a step back, and people are researching outside their small perceived box of reality. And this is what we have to do. We have to really get outside of just researching one thing, locking ourselves into a belief system, and rejecting all other forms of information as they come towards us, because that's the highest form of ignorance, which is rejecting something you know nothing about. So I'd like to a big welcome to Santos for joining us on the Gathering Momentum. And how are you, my friend? Thanks for coming on.
Oh, very well, thanks. Yourself?
Oh, really good, man. Really good. And yeah, this era we're heading into now, where people are coming online, we have the internet, and how people are waking up to all the truths to do with religion and these scenarios. How's this impacting like your following? I mean, people must be getting onto your websites and getting onto your YouTubes now, because I feel like that many years ago when you started, people would have been like heaps shy, and they'll be like, man, this information is so intense, I'm not sure if I can divulge it. Are you finding now that people are like more open to it, and they're like, wow, this is actually cutting edge?
I guess when I started early 2011 with videos, I expected a backlash. I did expect ridicule, but I also expected great acceptance because I thought, well, what I have is great. It's syncretism, and it must be accepted by the good people that are out there. It must be, because this is good. This is the truth.
Good people.
I discovered that truly we do have a unified system of science, knowledge, thinking, and it's based on intelligent consciousness. You know, when humans don't suffer loss of consciousness, which we are suffering at the moment, we know all this science. It's all syncretism. Islam is Christianity, is Buddhism, is Hinduism. You know, this would be blasphemous to many people. But now people are starting to wake up and realise there is all a oneness to this division. We see the interrelatedness and the things that really make us more similar than apart, as we really bought into in past times. We were really buying into the division and personality, etc. Nothing wrong with personalities and individualities and separateness, but at the expense of unity there is. And that's what we've been doing. You know, in the past we've been doing this. Now people are starting to see. And with my material, syncretism, it's just undeniable. There is no one who is intelligent that can watch my presentations and deny them, or debunk them, or disprove them. And that's because there's none of my opinion. No, I don't publish my opinions. I just publish things that are out there and explain them properly. You know, you can verify everything that I've ever done. And so people watching my presentations will just have to stay virtually in judgment until I finish the presentation. And if they don't agree, they'll find that they will never be able to unlearn what they watched and undo what I taught them. And eventually they will accept that as truth, because it's the ultimate truth. It's not mine. It's just the truth that's out there that's easy to find and point to. Yeah, that's all I do.
Amazing, man. You've done such a good job of it too, so thank you very much for that. One of the other things I wanted to like basically throw in there is like the synchronism. Is this also connecting with like the legal system and the court system? It's just kind of all in. It's just one big all-encompassing octopus, which its tentacles just stretch into every facet of our lives. And what you've been doing is basically going into each tentacle and uncovering it and forming it back into this big giant structure of how it all comes together. That kind of how it works, you feel?
Well, yes, you've explained it well, but you've used the wrong word to explain that it's not synchronism, it's syncretism.
Syncretism, right.
So synchronism, kNOw, is syncing things in time so that they work synchronous. Okay, so you meet up with John, who's going to be in that part of town when the delivery guy is driving past, and all of these hookups. That's synchronous. Right? Syncretism is syncing things up in your head. So there's no more disunity and no more compartmentalism and division and confusion. There's no confusion. I'm not confused about any field of knowledge. You can put any field of knowledge before me and I'll be able to digest it and fully understand it. Anything. Once you have the secret and the key, which is quite simple, it's in all the sacred scriptures, and the key is, they taught us that to understand God's energy and consciousness, you have to understand the number 12 and the number 7. And his numbers of creation. 12 is astrological. Every circle, every cycle, every ecliptic, every wave, every single action that has ever existed has an energy, torus field, unfurlment about it. And it's all cyclical. And those cycles complete themselves in 12 parts. Okay, so every circle, 360-degree circle, is divided into 12 30-degree segments, and that's so every sine wave, every wave of light, of water, whatever wave, whatever propagation of wave, it always will be doing an astrological expression. It will start in Aries and finish in Pisces, and this can be proven. This is how energy works, and the ancients proved it in their works. That's why every book, sacred book, is dealing with the number 12, because 12 is the full expression of the magnetic torus, rotating torus field. It's a 12ness. It's not a 2ness. People who believe in duality and polarity as the as the true expression of energy,
two numbers
are deluded, because that's simplistic. Every wave must express itself in a 12ness, and this is how it works. At the start of every wave, at 0 point, when the dielectric and the magnetic field begin to move and create electricity, which is the transverse wave. So I would say magnetism is the spiritual, invisible, longitudinal wave. Pulsing, it's pulsed like your heart, dum dum, okay? And it's longitudinal. There's no speed of light there, there's no limits, it's unlimited, magnetism, unlimited. It's God. It's God force. And that still God, to make the moving God, which we call Jehovah or any other name, the creator Brahma, which is electricity, to make that, it must create the wave, the Hertzian transverse wave of polarity. And that polarity, the wave amplitude, is the space, and the wavelength, the frequency, is the time. Saturn controls time, kNOw, and Jupiter controls space.
Fair use, people. Fair use.
Space, Mr. Expansion.
Fair use.
And so these are the daddy and son who are always warring. One is a Titan, kNOw, Saturn, and the other is an Olympian, and the Olympian defeats the Titan. This is because space is defeating time, and time and space is continuing to create this transverse wave illusion, you see. And so that transverse wave is expressing itself in 12, in a 12ness. Most people only see the positive half, the yang, and the negative half, the yin. They see red and blue, red shift, blue shift, red pill, blue pill, red siren, red, blue siren, red blood, blue blood, roses are red, violets are blue. All of this red and blue is essentially is the material world, the rainbow. A rainbow is clearly red shift, blue shift. You can see it right there in front of you. And that is the electromagnetic dual wave, red and blue. You look at your car batteries, one terminal is red, an anode, and the other one's blue, a cathode. And they always paint them like this. They don't use green and yellow, purple and red. It's always red and blue. Same colours turn up everywhere, because that is the polarity, fire and water. It's a fire-water universe. Those are the two agents of creation, fire and water. And they are expressed in every way. So when the Hertzian wave goes out to create things, it starts in cardinal fire Aries for the first 30 degrees. And every wave does this, every thought wave. When you think, every propagation of thought waves begins in Aries and finishes at Pisces. And it expresses 12 types of energies, 4 elements in 3 modalities. The 4 elements are fire, earth, air and water, and the modalities are cardinal, fixed and mutable. And all this science is astrological or energetic, magnetic, God force. So, after Aries comes Taurus, earth, fixed earth, then Gemini, mutable air, then Cancer at the Tropic of Cancer, cardinal water, then Leo, fixed fire, Midsummer, the roaring lion, then Virgo, the harvest season, that's mutable earth, then Libra, the start of autumn, or tomb, the sun has to go to the tomb of winter, you see, and that's cardinal air, then Scorpio, fixed water, then Sagittarius, mutable fire, Capricorn at the Tropic of Capricorn down below, where Saturn rules, Satan, cold winter, and that's cardinal earth. Then Aquarius, fixed water, and then every wave finishes with Pisces, mutable water. And sorry, Aquarius was fixed air. But every sine wave finishes with mutable water. And if you understand those elements and modalities and all the 12 energies that I expressed 12 energies. 3 times I repeated the 4 elements, and 4 times I repeated the 3 modalities. So I gave every element a different modality. See? Fire, I gave Aries, cardinal fire, Leo, fixed fire, and Sagittarius, mutable fire. And that's the 1st, 5th, and 9th sign. And the 5 signs have all the beautiful numbers, the God numbers. 1, number 1. 5, Leo, the number 5, passion, the number of man, the pentagram, that's in your DNA. And 9 is the 9th heaven, Sagittarius. You see, and these are all the elements. I mean, I could go through and show you the earth ones and the air ones and the water ones, but you can do that yourself. It's so easy. So when you look at astrology, you are looking at a cycle, and that cycle is 1 year. It's the sun doing a year from March the 21st at the equinox. Everything starts there at Aries, right? And then it goes around. So a day does this, an hour does this, a minute does this. Every pulse in the universe, which is spiritual, and then releases a wave which is physical, electricity, or electromagnetism, which is the creator of material form, the transverse wave. Every one of these, every single action and atom that ever manifested did this. It started in Aries and finished in Pisces, because everything is a waveform. You see, where they trick us is they tell us it's a wave-particle duality universe. And it's not, because there ain't no particles. So you've got to substitute particles with pulse. It's a pulse wave universe. And the particle and the particle physics and the quantum physics, that will absolutely send you down a garden path. Because, not that it's wrong, but because it's 100% Jesuit control. The Jesuits have been running a Catholic Inquisition. They are the military terrorist arm of the Vatican papal bloodlines, like the Orsinis and the Farneses and the De Medicis. And they have been running an Inquisition for 500 years. And the Inquisition, as it's still running today, you can go to Wikipedia, punch in the word Inquisition, and look down in the third or fourth paragraph, and it'll tell you that it had a name change in 1965, its most recent change, to hide it. And it's called, well, actually, let me have a look. It's called the Holy Doctrine of the Faith. There you go. Let me just look it up. I'm going to Wikipedia. This is how easy it is to see that the Jesuits, and that's who's running it. They're running the biggest lies in history, and the two biggest lies that I will destroy if it's the last thing I do is the globe lie. The Jesuits invented it. Copernicus was a Jesuit, and Farnese, Pope Paul III, he dedicated his book to him. Who was Alessandro Farnese. The Farnese family from Persia have been running the whole Babylonian slave people trafficking system for 3,000 years. I've proven it. I've exposed it in my presentations. Here I am clicking in Wikipedia, right? And so I'll read the whole paragraph that contains its new name, which is the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, okay? This is it. Except within the Papal States, the institution of the Inquisition was abolished in the early 19th century after the Napoleonic Wars in Europe and after the Spanish-American Wars of Independence in the Americas. The institution survived as part of the Roman Curia. Well, the Roman Curia, which is basically the Roman Senate, or the board of directors of the Vatican, control the whole paper system, the money, the banking, the military, everything, the Inquisition, the lot. It all goes back to these guys, okay? It says here that in 1908 was given the new name of Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Holy Office. And then it finishes, it says, in 1965, 2 years after I was born, so it's still alive because there's no updates, okay? It says it became the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith.
Quite enough basis too, is it?
Oh yeah, wow.
We just think so.
This is how you have to do history. You have to do research with your eyes open, and then you have to face the truth, and then you have to preach the truth. This is what Plato said. Difficult and laborious it is to find the truth
Not
of
bad,
God.
huh?
Okay.
It's story, isn't it? You
It
know,
don't
we
look,
just basically get a whole bunch of shit news.
bushy and stuff, huh?
And then we have
It look okay.
You put it together with the time you took. Shit, think about that. That couldn't be ripped at the time that you took shit. It looked better than it could ever look to me. At the time, that's braids.
Especially with religion, because it's been forced down their throat, and their parents believe it, their grandparents believe it. And some cultures, obviously, if you go against it, you're going to have yourself in some strife also. So it's a very difficult and also touchy subject when you're breaking down like such big walls. Like I can only imagine the amount of reaction that you got years ago putting this information out. Because my dad was an actuary and also a statistician, And he didn't even understand about the Federal Reserve. I go, Dad, you do know the Federal Reserve is not federal, privately owned. And he's like, I don't believe that. I'm like, man, it's a reset. Come on, like, you pretty much work for them. And it's like, it's so big that it's like people shut down. They just like either go elsewhere or they don't want to hear about it or they block it because they're kind of happy in their little safety net. And then what I find has been happening also a lot too, people being cottoning onto, where the money's going for the tolls, the parking fines, the ranges, the fact the council is, who has the council put together. And this is like blowing people's minds. And then people are going to court, but they haven't got the ammunition yet. A lot of people are going to court and they want to represent themselves, but it's like, that's a whole nother big experience of researching, isn't it? To go into court and to, do the common law or whatever process people are going to be going to do it, that's like, you want to know your shit or you're going to get yourself in more trouble, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, like I did. I got into a lot of trouble. And simply because I didn't fully understand all the presumptions and ins and outs of their system. It's very intricate. It's very, very intricate. And I have a habit of talking back and talking too much and talking in and then out of trouble and back in. So my own really and the lack of understanding got me into trouble. So yeah, this is the thing. We need to understand that this slave system goes back to, Rome is the fourth captivity according to the Jews.
Right.
The empires that have absolutely been corrupted, not that these are bad, Rome's not bad, Babylon's not bad, Persia's not bad, and Egypt's not bad. All right, I'm gonna name these empires. And they're not bad, they're full of good people. It's the corporate, business, greedy, demonic, if you like, bloodlines or families that infiltrate them and use their riches and capitulate themselves, catapult themselves from that. They're empire builders. Okay, what they do is they go into empires and they destroy them. You see, they suck all the blood out of them. Yeah, this is what happened to Egypt. Egypt was pure and beautiful and wonderful. So was Persia. So was Babylon. So was Rome. But these are these have produced the most evil empires that the world has ever known. Starting with Egypt, right? Probably Persia, really, because their bloodlines are the most sinister. The Medici, Farnese, Aldobrandini, Pallavicini. If only you knew what these families I've just mentioned, the leading, most powerful families for thousands of years, creators of the Jesuits and all bloody wars and murder and hatred and division and shortages on this planet to control us. If you only knew the deeds of these family, brother, you would know why I speak about them like this. Their deeds, one day, will be forever famous, and the world will never reproduce the evil that these families have generated through these beautiful nations. Egypt, beautiful. Persia, wonderful, beautiful. Babylon, the astrology that came out of Babylon was wonderful. Rome, all cultures were beautiful and wonderful in the golden ages. Then these smart families who call themselves the Rex Deis families, or the Mary Magdalene bloodlines, all these Jesus bloodlines, they're all satanic. They've all copulated with demonic forces. You see, they are the Nephilim, and they infiltrated these four nations. First was Egypt, and the first captivity when God's people went down to Israel, down to Egypt, and then they were captive in Babylon for 70 years. Then there was Persia, and with the story of Esther and Mordecai and the deliverance there. And then the fourth captivity is Rome. Many people don't know this. Now, Greece was the only one of note, and Assyria, but Greece is the standout of all the world empires that was not part of a captivity, although there was some persecution in the Maccabean times that was recorded by the Greeks. But Alexander the Great, basically, he was defeating the Persians and the Greeks for hundreds of years, protecting the onslaught of Eastern invasion to dominate Europe, and set up a Persian kingdom, a Mithraic Zoroastrian kingdom in Rome, which they did, which eventually destroyed Greece through the back door, Rome. Now we have a Constantine, which was created this Christendom, an empire to fight, and rule the world, is essentially from Persia. And the Persians initially intended to launch themselves from America, from Europe, Holland, England, mostly Spain and Portugal, to conquer, hence conquistador, the Americas, the New World, Australia, and all of these, the Pacific Islands, everything, the whole world, or at least what they called the globe, because quickly thereafter, after the conquistador families stitched up all the ports of the world, the Jesuits went all throughout for 100 and 200 years, between 1492 and 1692, basically with the East India Company and all of these corporations, they conquered the whole world and put it under the slaves and assistance of Rome. The Jesuits did that. They're still running the world. They now have a Pope, Pope Francis, who is Jesuit, and their intention all along was to create a new world order where the ruling elite families who have always been there will absolutely control and dominate awakening mankind, and keep them stupid, dumbed down, enslaved, sick, poor, unhappy, depressed, medicated, and that's what they're doing. And this is why the world is in such a way. So people are subscribing to their lies. The second big lie that I was going to mention is the Jesus lie of history. See, the Gospels, they're just Gospels, they're not history. Romans invented the Jesus man, God, Saviour, who came and will come again. You see, this coming again of this literal Jesus is a trick. Yeah, because in the meantime, they've got a beautiful Ponzi scam going on called paying taxes to Peter's pence, according to the donation of Constantine, where the whole world will pay taxes and tributes to Rome through Peter's pence. Church of St. Peter. Yeah, the Vatican. And it's a Ponzi scheme. Christ never came. Jesus never came in the flesh. Jesus comes in spirit. Jesus is in all things. You see, Jesus, this historical Jesus causes so-called Christians to kill other people because they don't love their Jesus, their Zeus, Jesus, you see? And yet they do, because they are worshipping him as Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha, Buddha, Krishna. We don't need to go killing them because they've just got different names for the same Jesus. There's only one universal Jesus, or Christ, whatever you want to call him, God. There is only one, Allah. There is truly only one source God. Okay, Christ, Krishna. They are the same individuals. Why? How do you know? Because when you read the books, you see they did the same things, and they are the same archetype individual. There's no doubt about it. You cannot deny this fact. You just can't deny it. So Rome has been running a globe, and a Jesus Saviour is coming to save you. In the meantime, we're just going to be happy to sodomise just till he gets here, right? But just keep waiting. Heads down, bend over, no Vaseline.
Yeah, he did.
And that's what the Roman families have been doing all the time. They've been creating. The Egyptians did it with Osiris. They said he's coming. The Babylonians did it with Marduk. and Astarte, and the Persians did it with Mithras, and they brought it to Rome. All the way, Rome was Mithraic, all the way up until 325, when guess what? Constantine calls a council at Nicaea and convenes all the religions of the world, all of the religions of the world. And they brought all their holy books and gospels. And in the end, after beating and whipping some of them and putting them in jail and silencing some of these bishops who wanted to include all the ancient 1,000-year gospels of Jesus from Egypt and India and all over the world, they settled on 4 gospels and canonized 66 books. 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 is astrological. Okay, so what people are doing, these good little goody-goody two-shoe Baptists, when they go to church and persecute the Pentecostals and the Jehovah's Witnesses because they're demon worshippers, because they don't read the King James Version. Well, the King James Version happens to be the same exact 66 books that Constantine canonized. Now, you may want to check that word canonized, because the book you're reading is a very, very small, manipulated, controlled fragment of all the sacred books that Constantine thereafter burned in inquisitions. Till today, you look at the blacklisted books of the Vatican, there's thousands of them still. You can go online and look at all the today's books that are blacklisted. You can't get publishing for them. Why? Why? Who's doing this? Why aren't we not free to publish books? It's the Jesuits and the Inquisition and the bar that support them and the Freemasons that run with them and the Knights of Columbus and the Knights of Malta, all of them. But they're all in cahoots with the papal Roman bloodlines who are telling people that they're somehow better, they've got blue blood.
Fair use.
And they are way better than you plebeians,
like
and you goy.
We being taught something.
But you can fight our wars for us. You can fight our wars for us any time, and we'll make the uniforms for you too.
But do you feel that these are bloodlines that go off-world? And basically, at one point in time, they've come here, and that's why we've had this massive divide. I mean, if that's the 4th capturing, we're obviously clearly pretty far into our 5th right now, aren't we? I mean, we've been done. Do you feel this time the ways the things that, you know, we haven't actually had a golden ages in the last how many years, right? Since these times beforehand. Do you feel like, what's your opinion, Tedros? Do you feel like we are going to head into the golden ages through this reality, or do you feel it's too far gone? Like, what's your feeling on this? Like, as people are waking up to what's going on, to the Federal Reserve, to the legal system, to we need to be sustainable, the hiding of the hemp and the patents for free energy and all this stuff. This is all kind of festering, and they're trying their hardest to stop this and suppress this from coming out. What's your thoughts on where we're going to head in the next few years with, you know, the artificial intelligence coming in and merging of humans with machines? Where, like, we're in a pretty exciting time. Like, let's be honest, you can't think this shit up. You know, what do you feel is going to happen?
Well, they're building a web very craftily, very cleverly, very surreptitiously, in which they will capture themselves. The evil will ensnare themselves in their own traps.
Yep.
Okay, so they're pretty
is that portal they opening?
Cruisy at the moment. Well, at least they think they can get away with weather wars and economic crashes and media manipulation and lying to people and force vaccinating people, killing millions and millions of little babies, causing all kinds of sicknesses with children, epilepsy, and everything's on the rise. Even the older people in the nursing homes now are beautiful old folk, you know, with dementia and Alzheimer's. That's all because of the fluoride in the water. It burns the nervous system. So that's why they can't remember. The synapses and the dendrites in their cranium, in their cerebrum, are burned out. They're not supple. and so they don't make connections anymore. So they look at you with these glazed eyes, and they're like, "Who are you?" You know, and that's your mum or whatever. And they're in nursing homes, and that's deliberate because the nursing homes also now are making money from this industry, which is old, demented people, because that's how they set it up. You see, once the old people go in, they sign with their signatures, and then the nursing homes now milk and hypothecate the signature through the bond. You see, through the slave bank system that's going on, the debt usury system. And so that's a good business now, old age business. Prisons, keep the prisons full. We cannot have them under 80%. That's not good business. There's a lot of cigar smoking tycoons on the harbour there in Sydney that have owned the prisons. Oh, you'll find that Turnbull will have some shares in prisons. All of these criminals that are in Canberra, all of these corporate criminals that are not our government, they are an illegitimate coven of witches. They are a coven of witches and a den of thieves, and they are money changers. And you watch how when the Christ returns to clean his temple, you watch where Malcolm Turnbull will run to hide. He'll be hiding under the rocks and gnashing his teeth. That guy there, he wants to vaccinate your little babies because he's got shares in Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson and all of those companies. They are all run by the de Medici families and the Orsini families back in Rome and in Venice, who conquered this nation that we are standing on, stolen indigenous land, and they're running a business, a corporation with their corporate flag, and it's called usury. And it's a military. It's the Roman military run out of Washington, D.C., District of Columbia. Columbia comes from Colonna. And the Colonna family, they go back to the Julio-Claudians and all the way back to Persia. They are the Columbus family. See, Christopher Columbus was Cristobal Colon. Colonna family were the family who were fighting to be popes against the Orsini family. They later became the Ghibellines and the Guelphs, and they were warring and bloodshedding in Rome for hundreds of years until a pope finally came along and by papal bull decreed that they should intermarry in their families and unite their powers and be friends. And that was the worst thing that ever happened, because the Columbus family, who owned District of Columbia, the military DC of the world, capital of the world, who owned the military-industrial pharmaceutical complex and the big war machine, together with the Orsini family and the Farnese family. And there you have it. And I can name more: Borghese, Borgia, Conti, Chigi, all of these names. And their names tell you what they're doing. Who runs the drugs? The big pharma. Medici. De Medicis. Because medical, that's medical. Media. Who runs the media? The De Medicis. Who runs the Islamic world? The Pallavicinis, because Pallavicini means to be close to Allah in Italian. You look up you look up the Pallavi. Sorry?
Sorry, I was just going fucking hell, like it was blowing my mind. Sorry.
You look up the Pallavicini family and put the word Islam next to it, right? Two words: Pallavicini, P-A-L-L-A. V-I-C-I-N-I, Vicini, which is vicinity. They're telling you they are close to Allah. You'll see all the leaders of Islam come from this family. How come? What's this ancient Persian family, Pallavicini, telling you that they used to worship Pallas Athena, Pallas, Allah, and Allah? They created Islam, okay? This family created it and they run it. And who runs the Rosicrucians? The Orsini family. Tom Cruise is an Orsini. You'll find that all these actors in Hollywood, they're all Farneses, Orsinis,
unfortunate, but I'm sure you'll make up for the losses in no time.
And Rothschilds and Rockefellers and Morgans and Schiffs and Warburgs, they all go back to Orsini.
Right.
De Medici, and a few others, you know, Gaetani. Gaetani was the Pope in 1302 who set up the fall to destroy the Templars to steal their money in 1307, and then they destroyed them. But he died before they killed Jacques de Molay. But he created Unum Sanctum, a Gaetani. These are the families. You go to Rome, you'll see streets named after the Gaetani, and they created the slave system called Unum Sanctum, the first express trust in history, which is the tHE trust, which takes your soul, your property, and everything in the name of Jesus in that Trinity kingdom. Hence the Pope wears the tiara or the trirenium on his head, the three kingdoms, which are your body, your mind, and your spirit. Government, mental. They govern everything from Rome. Through London, through Amsterdam, Wall Street, DC, they all run different departments. It's all ecclesiastical. Everything originates in Rome. The financial hub is London and Wall Street. The military arm would be Israel and DC. Okay, they work together. The families, they don't care about Israel or Arabs or anybody. They run everything behind the scenes.